Hey there, listeners. I'm Tom.
And I'm James, and you're listening to World on a String.
Hi, James.
Hi Tom, how you doing, mate?
This is our first episode of our podcast.
Oh my god, it feels great. It is amazing.
Why don't we talk about what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, I'll let you do that because you're really good at describing stuff.
So here on World on a String, me and James, we're old friends. We've known each other for a long time, but shit, my phone just went off. Me and James, we're old friends. We've known each other for a long time, and
Yeah.
recently we've both gone to different unis, so we're a lot further away.
Yes.
And we're like, well, how are we going to stay in touch? We decided to do a podcast. Everybody does podcasts, so we wanted to make ours a bit different.
Yeah.
The format of our podcast is it's gonna be about an hour long. We're gonna just kind of talk to each other for a bit, catch up with each other. Then we're gonna talk about an album,
Yep.
and then we're gonna talk about a film. The format is each week one of us chooses an album, and the other one chooses the film.
Yeah, nice.
At the end of the podcast, we will say what we're listening and watching to next week, and we'll listen
Yeah.
to that over the week, and then we'll give you our thoughts.
Yeah.
So this week, for the first episode, we've started with James chose the album and I chose the film. And James, what album did you choose?
I chose Headhunters by Herbie Hancock, which I don't think is an album that you knew of before listening to it this week. Did you?
It's not, and I chose as a film. I chose I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which you can find on Netflix, which you'll probably be able to do with most of our films, as that's how we're going to watch them. And that's got Elijah Wood in it, and we'll talk about why we chose them later on. But first of all, James, why don't you tell me and anybody listening
Yeah.
a little bit about yourself?
About myself. Oh my god, I didn't realise this was a job interview. Holy shit. Yeah, I don't know what there's much to say. You know, my name's James. I'm studying at university now, as Tom mentioned. I'm doing a music degree, hence why I got to choose the album, and hence why I forced Tom to listen to all my weird music. Um, I think that sums me up. I don't think there's any more to say, really. I'm just,
Why do you want to do podcasting, James?
oh, why do it? Oh, shit, I don't know. It just sounded like a good idea at the time, and now it's, I know the joke got too far.
Fair enough.
We're in trouble. What about you, Tom? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, I'm Tom. I'm also studying at university, but I'm not doing music. I'm studying a physics degree, and I'm pretty into kind of voice stuff. I've done a couple of radio plays at uni, and I've wanted to do a podcast for a long time. And James, why don't we say how this podcast got started? What was the first part of it?
The first part.
What was the first thing, the very first thing in this podcast's history?
I think it was me messaging you going, do you want to do a podcast?
That's exactly what it was.
That was amazing.
And here we are, like 5 days later.
We've
got a podcast.
Speed did this whole thing. I wrote the music before you even said yes. I wrote jingles and stuff, which I hope we actually get.
Yeah,
to
we had a
use.
couple of jingles. We came up with a name together.
Yeah, we did
just
come up with
by
a name.
kind of throwing out random stuff.
You know, I didn't tell you, but all the names I was putting out there were jazz standards, and even this is from a jazz standard. So
Of course they are.
I hope you realise this.
Of course.
I think it's great.
Then I drew a little rubbishy logo, which is our logo, because neither of us could draw.
No, that was really good. I really like it.
And there we have it. That's
literally
the entire
our
history
story.
of World on a String. It started like 5 days ago. This hasn't been a long project,
No,
but this is where we are.
there's nothing else to do though now. I mean, today I've literally just, apart from some performances, I'm done for the year now. So there was nothing else to do other than start a podcast, really. I don't know about you, Tom.
So, well, yeah, I had my last exam yesterday,
Yeah.
so I'm finished for the year now.
Oh my God.
This podcast, James,
Yep.
it's going to focus quite heavily on music and film.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me what your favourite song is?
Whoa. Okay, I have a load of problems with this because I'm not a big fan of actual songs. I like jazz stuff. So, I guess, we'll stick with an easy answer. We'll go to Summertime by George Gershwin, but probably played by Chet
Summertime
Baker.
by George Gershwin. What's your favourite film?
Oh shit, my favorite film. Oh, it has to be. Um, it was La La Land, and I really liked La La Land for quite a long time. Um, but then I went to the cinema earlier this year to see Coco, and it absolutely blew my mind. I was in tears. It was great. I loved it. I think that is my all-time favorite film at the moment.
I haven't seen either of those films.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
man, I know what we're watching next week then. It's not nice.
As for me,
Mm,
my favourite song, me and James both have very different tastes in music.
oh
Probably
yeah.
fairly similar tastes in film,
Mm,
but very different tastes in music. I like listening to country, and I like kind of soft rock. Um, but my favorite song, my number one, I don't know. It would probably be something by Old Man Markley, which I'll probably get you to listen to at some point.
yeah. I like it.
Um, I'm gonna go with Songs" by Old Man Markley. I like
Okay.
that.
Wow.
And my favorite film is a classic. It's Airplane. I think that's the funniest film
Mm.
ever made.
Uh,
It's hilarious.
I've never seen it, not once. I'd started
It's
watching
good.
it, I just fell asleep.
It's great. I love it.
Should we get into talking about what we've done this week, what we've experienced?
Yeah. What have you done this week?
Well, I mean, apart from finishing uni and listening to a great album and watching a film, I haven't really done much. I've done a lot of performances. I've done a lot of writing some music. I done nothing really.
I've been really really busy.
Have you?
So I've had 3 exams in the last week. Um, so I've been revising for those. I've been sitting those, making sure all that's done. And then I was in a play yesterday, a play called
Yeah.
Vampire Story by Moira Buffini. That was done at my uni. And I'm in another play next Monday, which is an original play by one of the students.
Oh my God.
Um, so I've been really busy with a lot of rehearsals, my
Yeah.
performances, my exams.
And you've been
It's
up.
been a lot of late nights this week.
Yeah. I was just gonna say you've been up like all night. Should we move on to talking about the album? Do you want to talk about the
Let's talk
album?
about the album.
Yeah.
So James, again, as we said earlier, James chose the album this week,
Yeah.
and the album of choice was Headhunters by Herbie
Herbie
Hancock.
Hancock.
Hey
Yeah.
James,
I hate it.
why did you choose that album?
Well, I don't know. I wanted to make you listen to some jazz, but I thought throwing you out there with like the jazz that I'm into might blow your mind a little bit. Um, because it might bore you. So I was like, I'll put something really weird on. It was only 4 songs long, wasn't it? There was only 4 tunes on there, and it was only about 40 minutes long. Which isn't that long for a jazz album. So I was like, it's a good one to start with. It gives Tom a kind of taste in the almost general direction that we'll be moving with my music choice. I didn't think you'd ever heard it before, which I was correct about. What did you think? What do you think it's something you'd listen to again?
Um, so I've been making notes on my phone as I was listening.
Hmm.
Um, so I opened up the album, and as you say, I opened it up on Spotify, and my first thought was, oh, it's only 4 songs. And
Yeah.
then I looked at the album runtime, and it was 45 minutes. I was like, well,
Yeah.
shit. So the very first note that I've got are these songs 10 minutes long? No, one of them was like nearly 20 minutes, another one was 15, and the other two were
Yeah.
slightly normal.
Yeah.
My other general whole album note was that I
Yeah.
really fucking love the album art. I thought it
Oh,
was
it's
really cool.
great, isn't it? Herbie Hancock's album art is always one to watch.
And then I had to make a note halfway through because one of the songs, the third one, I think Sly it
Yeah.
was called.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'll get into why, but I listened to that. Actually, it was the fourth song. It was Vein Melter.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to that in the kitchen in my flat while I was making dinner through my friend's speaker, and we were both listening to it. And his speaker actually like just stopped working halfway through the song.
Really?
It just turned off, and we couldn't turn it back on. It's working again now, like a day later. But we both said that the speaker died of jazz. Like there was no other reason for it to turn off. It was full
It
battery and everything. It
literally
just died of jazz.
got its veins
Yeah,
melted.
its veins were melted. It died of jazz. So the first song on the album was
Yeah.
a song called Chameleon.
Yeah.
So as it started off, and my first thoughts was that it was really quite funky. Um,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the start. I was listening to it in the shower, I think, and it builds up, which I like in that kind of song. It was a bit electro rather than just
Yeah,
jazz. There was definite electro to it, and the way that it all layered up. There were some weird bits though. About five
yeah.
minutes in, there's something that sounded like a bird tweeting that
I
continued like all
mean,
the way through, like an electric bird. I thought that was
yeah.
a bit odd. I wasn't really into that. Some of the keyboard stuff though was really cool. I assume most of it is impro because it's jazz. I don't know if it is or not,
Well,
but I assume it's.
yeah. There's a lot of solos in Chameleon, and it's a lot of just kind of vamping and just kind of laying back on the same kind of riff and stuff. Like you've always got
Yeah,
that bass line, haven't you?
yeah.
That's always going. And Herbie's just vamping on top. You've got a few of the keys players there.
I really liked the keyboard stuff. I thought there was this happened in quite a couple of the songs in the album, where it would kind of all build and it would stop, and there'd almost be a couple of seconds of silence, and then it would almost start
Yeah,
again. And I don't really see why they didn't make after the stop a different song
yeah.
because they didn't seem to have a whole bunch in common, and I think I would have enjoyed them a lot more had it been kind of five or six 6-minute songs
Yeah,
rather than four like 15-minute songs. Because like for Chameleon, I really enjoyed the first half,
and yet it
and the
goes on,
second
doesn't
half
it?
I enjoyed slightly less. So and then it had a fade ending as well, which I hate.
Yeah, he's
It just
just.
repeated and faded out, and I was like, it's just why? I don't like that.
The thing
I don't like it.
with Chameleon though now is it's become sort of it's played a lot by many different people
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's very popular. One of my flatmates used to play the trumpet, and he said he did it in like his grade 5 exam or
yeah,
something.
yeah. It's a big band piece. It's a small jazz combo piece now. It's completely not what it was originally with Herbie Hancock. The same goes for the next piece that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think a lot of people are put off by long pieces. It's just because effectively you've got the tune and you've got the head, and then everyone just has a massive jam and there's just solo. Everyone's taking a solo. It's hard. It's tricky. It's a tricky album to listen to.
One of the things I wrote down is that I assume, with it being jazz, I assume it's like saxophone or some other kind of quite jazzy instrument.
Yeah,
But there seemed to be two main sounds. There was the keyboard, and then there was a more drony sound, which I assume came from a saxophone.
a
But
drony sound.
like in the for the solos, there was definitely keyboard stuff, and then there was.
I think there's so many different instruments on that album. It would be hard to pin down. Though I think in Chameleon there's definitely a sax. Um,
Yeah,
I
basically, I didn't like the sax. I didn't like the sound it was making.
yeah,
Um, you play sax,
yep,
and I've listened to you play a lot of sax, and the sound of your sax is very full, um, and it's saxes make nice sounds. I do
yeah.
enjoy listening to saxophones. I don't know what it was about this. I don't know if it was
I think
some
it's
kind
got a
of
load of
electrically
effects applied
modulated
to it.
sax
Yeah,
effect or something.
yeah.
It seemed really thin. It seemed really whiny, and I really
I
didn't
think
like whenever it was
it's
playing.
yeah. I can understand that. I think I felt the same way listening to the album the first time. I think it's the soprano sax. I think that's what you're talking about, and I think
Yeah, I think it is the soprano. Yeah.
it's just yeah. I can see what you mean. Tune to listen to. I'd recommend if you ever get the chance to listen to other versions because there are good versions out there, but that was the first time it was ever recorded. So
Uh
I thought we should listen to it.
That being said, while I was listening to it in the shower, I was bopping away. I was jiving.
Jiving.
It was really funky. I got some movement. I was enjoying it. I gave that song an 8 out of 10.
You gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
gave it an
God.
8 out of 10.
I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. When
I
you
enjoyed it.
first suggested giving them ratings out of 10, I really struggled because I was like, there's so much to take into account. What am I judging here? So I've just given them kind of lax scores, just like, oh, it's kind of like a 7.5-ish type thing. Anyway, let's move on to Watermelon Man.
Watermelon Man, song 2.
Yeah, this was very different.
Yeah, it started off a bit weird. Again,
Yeah.
whistling and vocals and stuff.
Yeah, it's all different instruments. If you listen to the original Watermelon Man, it is nothing like that tune that you heard.
Right.
It's like a funk kind of a bluesy type thing in the
Uh huh.
original, but then Herbie just went off on a mad one. I think it's great. I loved it. I just think it was fresh, it was new. I really liked it. The intro is just
Uh huh.
crazy though.
I liked the kind of guitar riff that I was kind of built around.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
liked that a lot. I liked the feel of it. Um, a technique that he used in this that I then read on Spotify is quite common of him in a way. It's like his kind of thing
Mm.
is rather than necessarily using, I'm sure he does, but percussion in a way for the rhythm. He uses the piano chords as a rhythmic kind of
Yeah,
bass.
yeah.
I did really like that. I thought that was really cool, and I gave it points for being shorter.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
How long was this? Was about 6 minutes, wasn't it? This was one of the
Yeah,
shorter ones. Yeah.
I thought it wasn't quite as groovy as Chameleon. I just what I wrote in my closing thoughts was that when listening to Chameleon, I was kind of engaged with it and I was listening to it. Whereas with this one, it wasn't as engaging. It was just kind of playing. In a way, that's kind of how I feel about a lot of jazz. It's my complaint about pretty much all the songs, and then in my kind of closing thing for the whole album, I address it again. But my thing with jazz is I don't find it interesting to just listen to. It's more helpful to have on while doing other stuff. Like I wouldn't want to if I was revising, I wouldn't be listening to stuff that I know the words to or anything like that because it's going to distract me. But you can put on jazz because it's just kind of there and it just fills in
Yeah.
the blanks in a way.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I suppose that's always been the case with jazz, though, because you always have a kind of either a jazz combo or just a pianist
Yeah,
in a
and you've
restaurant
got
just
it
playing
playing in a
jazz.
cafe, something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it is good background music, and
Whereas the way I typically use my music is if I'm walking somewhere, if I'm in the car, or if I'm traveling, I actively listen rather than kind of passively listen, I guess. I gave Watermelon Man a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. I give it an 8.5. I think it is my favorite tune on this whole album. But having never properly sat down and listened to Sly and Vein Melt, I was nearly swayed over by them, but I gave them quite a low score because you just got to beat Watermelon Man. Watermelon Man is a tune I'm doing in my performance for my first year. I think it's
Uh,
sick. Not this version, not by a long shot, because that'd just be impossible. I think it's really cool. It's hard to kind of look at it knowing what it was before Herbie completely recomposed it.
I mean, for me, like I'm not familiar with the history of any of these songs. I hadn't
Yeah,
really heard of Herbie Hancock beforehand. I
yeah,
was almost just listening to them in
just a song.
isolation in a way.
Yeah,
Whereas I guess for you, who is into jazz and knows a lot more about it, then you can't separate the song from the history.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I did, yeah. I was gonna try, but then I was like, no, I just couldn't allow it. No, I think it's a fantastic tune. Definitely my favorite on the whole album. Should we move
The
on?
next song
Sly.
was Sly. Uh, I thought it should have been three separate songs. There's three
Really?
chunks, and they were all felt very, very different to each other. They didn't seem to really have that much in common. So I've almost reviewed them in as three different things. I've not written a whole bunch about Sly. I liked it. Part one was okay. It didn't grab me. It wasn't bad. It was just playing. I was
Yeah.
like, this is all right. I really liked part two. Part two is
Hmm.
my favourite of the three, the kind of middle section. I liked the repetitive shake rhythm. I'm not quite sure what I meant by that.
Great.
I feel like there was probably some drum thing or like some
Yeah,
type
yeah.
thing, which I really liked. Again, the comping on the keyboard as well. I've written if it was on its own, it would get
Yeah.
9 out of 10. That middle section.
Really?
Yeah, I really
Holy
liked it.
shit. That's quite a high
Part three
score.
seemed to be the return of the drone.
Mm.
There's a lot more of it. I wasn't into it. My thoughts for this song kind of are the same as my thoughts for the album. Really, I put it all together. Uh, the whole album, it just seems like music that would play. It would be perfect if I was in like a fancy restaurant for like lunch. It was like 2 o'clock, whatever, and I was there with my family and we're eating some fancy meal. This is what I would expect to be playing in the background if it was like a good restaurant. And it
Yeah.
was, that'd be a good atmosphere. It'd be really nice, and that is in a way how jazz came about in the jazz clubs and stuff. I'd put it into a revision playlist. I'd have it going when I was doing that, but it wouldn't be a regular listen
Yeah.
because I prefer music with lyrics,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Sly's not one of those pieces I've ever probably listened to before, but I think I agree. I think by Shaker Rhythm, I think I got something similar. I liked the groove of it. I liked it was solid. It
Hmm.
really just sat there.
It was groovy.
And it just felt comfortable doing its own thing, which I think is kind of why you can see it as a background thing because it doesn't
Yeah,
need any interaction from anyone else. It's quite happy just sitting by itself, doing its own thing. I looked into the solos a bit on this one because it's not a tune I ever heard, so I kind of wanted to hear how they approach soloing, and I thought the sax solo in particular, which I think I can't remember what sax it was. It was probably stop again. Um, I thought it was absolutely mad. I thought it was crazy. It just went so far out of the key. It just never came back, but it just sat on top.
Crazy, is that crazy in a good way or a
That
bad
is
way?
crazy in a good way if you do it right. It can be crazy in a bad way.
Because yeah, I mean, I almost couldn't concentrate on the music that was coming from the sax because the timbre of it was I just couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah. And I thought the contrast between there was a key solo by Herbie and a sax solo. I thought there was a really, really, really nice contrast between those two.
Mm. Oh yeah, I gave it overall. I think it got 7.
I give it
Yeah, I,
6.5.
I gave it 7 out of 10. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, that part 2 would have been a 9. I really did like that, the
Oh my
middle kind of
God.
middle section. But yeah, overall, I really didn't like the third part.
At all.
So that dragged it down.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
7 out of 10 for me. And then the last song,
Mm.
Vein Melter, didn't melt my veins. Did like it. I liked this one the most.
Yeah.
This was my favorite on the
Really?
album. Yeah,
It was definitely much more backgroundy for me, I think, was this one.
but I feel like the reason I enjoyed it so much more is I listened to this one in the kitchen through a speaker while I was talking to my friend Will, and I was doing my I was cooking my, I don't know what it was, tuna, probably tuna plant.
Yeah, no, I can see why.
It made the whole the whole our conversation, the whole atmosphere in the room was really chill. I mean, he said the same thing. He doesn't listen to jazz either, but he enjoyed it being on, and it was chill.
Yeah.
It picked up kind of halfway through. It kind of became a bit more to it, and I liked that more. But it was funky. You know, I was if I was walking from the table over to the oven, I wouldn't just be walking. I'd be kind of
Oh
like,
my God, you'd be
sliding over.
dancing.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. That's yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I didn't like this one as much at all, really. It wasn't something I felt I could get with. I couldn't like groove with it. Um, but I did like the key solo. I think in all these tunes, the key solos always outdone themselves because Herbie is just such a good keyboard player. He just like he knows all of his chords inside out. He knows what modes to play over what chords. If he's got a chord sequence, he knows, oh, if I play E flat Phrygian over that weather, he's got it. He's got it down. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows how to play a tasteful solo where he's not just kind of spamming his hands on the keyboard, just doing really fast runs. It's very tasteful. I like it. I give it a 6 out of 10 though. I wasn't overly impressed with Vein Melter.
I gave it a 8 again. So it got the same score as Chameleon, but I did like it more.
Okay, that's cool.
So then, for the whole album, I couldn't rate it as an album because I didn't feel like listening to the songs one after the other would be a different experience to listening to them separately. So my score for the album was just 7.25 because that was the average of the 4 scores.
I think as an album, I think I completely disagree with you. I definitely give it a kind of a 7.5, an 8 for the album as a whole because it shows the better side of jazz funk fusion, and it was really fresh in what it was doing at the time when it was released. And it is such a if you talk to any jazz musicians in the scene today and you're like, oh, have you heard Headhunters? They'll kind of laugh at you for even asking that question because they just presume you've heard it because it's such a like a known album now. Like it's standard repertoire really. Like if someone will always call Chameleon or Watermelon Man at a jam session. It's cool. I like it. I think it's a good album, but I think it is held up by Watermelon Man and
One of the
Chameleon.
things you said about it just then was that it was really fresh when it was released.
Mm,
Yeah,
hmm.
I mean it was released in 1973.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. I mean in 1973 there were all kinds of things that were fresh then that just aren't anymore. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
listening to it as I don't know the history of jazz. I don't know the kind of where it falls in. I'm sure it is instrumental in jazz, and I love Star Wars, and I think that Star Wars is instrumental in cinema.
mm,
I probably like Star Wars a lot more than you like Star Wars because I can't separate Star Wars from the history and just
yeah.
observe them as films. I'm sure for you this album has the same kind of
Yeah,
feel, but
I
for
think you're
me just
definitely
listening
right.
to it, it almost doesn't matter to me how instrumental it was at the time because now I've listened to jazz. The stuff in it isn't stuff I haven't heard before. It just did it first, I guess.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I suppose we are in two completely different spheres, regarding
Exactly.
this sort of
We both
stuff.
enjoy music very differently. I think
Yeah,
with the film, we'll probably agree a lot more and have similar stuff about it because we both like pretty similar films.
yeah, yeah. I think you're completely correct. But I'm glad you gave it a listen. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I did like it. It'll go into my revision playlist on Spotify. But yeah, it wouldn't be something that if I was like, oh, I'm compiling a playlist for a car journey or something, I wouldn't put it on. And I mean, one of the reasons I was excited about the kind of concept for this podcast was because me and you do listen to very different music. I would hear more different music to what I usually listen to.
I think in the same regard, you watch. I know we watch similar films and stuff. Like we both read like Star Wars, Harry Potter, that sort of stuff. But I've recently, I suppose, since I've come to uni, I've fallen into this kind of easy viewing experience of just watching, like those shitty kind of Hollywood comedies that they just pump out every year. That's like Grown Ups, that
The
sort of stuff.
worst of all the comedies.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of fallen back though. I've like lost watching this stuff. I think this podcast. I think you're going to bring it back for me. I hope.
Well, let's move on to films then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the film that we watched was called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. And if I go onto its IMDb right now, it was released in 2017. It was written and directed by Macon Blair, who I don't know who they are.
No.
And its two main stars were Melanie Linsky, who played Ruth,
Mm-hmm.
and Elijah Wood, who played Tony.
Tony.
I picked this film.
Yeah.
I knew literally nothing about it
Uh-huh.
other than it had Elijah Wood in. It was on my list on Netflix, which I added it to because it had Elijah Wood in, and I just finished watching Dirk Gently.
Oh
I
man.
didn't even watch the trailer. I think with the films, because we have to talk about it as a whole,
Yeah.
I think what we should do is, just in case for people listening, we will talk about our kind of general feelings without trying to spoil anything, give it a score, and then go to a more filled in-depth discussion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what were your general thoughts on I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore?
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. There wasn't a point where I was like, oh, this is boring. I just want to turn this off and watch Grown Ups 2 and Anchorman and that sort of shit. But yeah, I didn't know. I don't know the actor who plays Ruth. I had no clue who she was before. I still don't really know who she was. Of course, I knew who Elijah Wood was. I thought he was really good. It had. Oh, I don't know if it spoils it. I'll leave it. I've kind of made notes throughout the film, so I'm trying to
I did as well. I made notes throughout the film.
pick off. So there was the ending. I got annoyed me quite a lot. I got very annoyed at
Okay,
the ending, but that's for later. But I thought it was a solid film. I definitely enjoyed it.
what score did you give it out of 10?
Got to give it a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah,
Okie dokie. I just said that. I'm not even sure if I gave it a score out of 10.
yeah.
Let me check. Oh no, the note just disappeared. Did I just delete it?
Oh wow.
I did. Hold on, I can recover it.
Professionalism. I thought the music in the film was really good. I thought it was such a wide range of music. It constantly kept surprising me. I was like, the hell's going on with this soundtrack? But I thought it fitted in a weird way really nicely.
Okay, so I didn't write down a score.
Okay.
But I was really surprised by this film.
Mm,
It was billed as a Netflix original. It's not a Netflix, like, to me a Netflix original means Netflix had a hand in making it, which I
yeah.
don't believe they did for this. I think they just got the distribution rights. It was a Sundance Festival film. I think it won at the Sundance Festival, but I only found all this out afterwards. I was expecting it to be a bit edgy. It's,
Yeah.
it's called I Don't Feel at Home in This World
Yeah.
Anymore. And from the kind of the photo on Facebook, not on Facebook, on Netflix. I wasn't sure what it'd be like. I actually thought it was really, really funny. There were a lot of
Did
parts
you?
where I was laughing out loud at. Just the kind of lines in it. A lot of them made me laugh. The whole feel of it. I thought the cinematography. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't super fancy. It
Mm,
wasn't super stylized. The main character is what's she called, Ruth,
Ruth.
played by Melanie Linksey, who I've just looked on IMDb and like hasn't done anything that I've ever heard of. She's been in a couple of relatively big films, but I just don't know.
No, I did. She wasn't recognizable at all.
Yeah, I didn't know who she was before, and I don't really know who she is after. In the film, she's kind of a bit out of it. She's a bit zoned out in a way, and I thought the cinematography let me feel that really well. I definitely got the feel that it was going for. Um, Basically, the plot of it is, in general terms, that her house gets robbed, and the police won't help because it's just a burglary. Her grandmother's silver gets stolen, which she's upset about, and her and Elijah Wood's character Tony basically see if they can track down the criminals and get her stuff back. But really, the plot of the film isn't. It's nothing special. It's nothing fancy. It's just kind of an excuse for the film to happen. I loved it. I thought it was really funny. I was super surprised by it. I didn't think I'd like it that much. I'd give it like a 8.5.
Wow, holy cow!
I really enjoyed it.
I think I may have missed. I may have missed it. I didn't find it funny at all. There wasn't bits where I was laughing out loud. It was more kind of I
Most
recognised
of
it
my
was a
notes
joke.
are quotes that I laughed at.
Really, I got one quote. It's not even a quote.
Which was your quote?
It was there was a bit when she first goes to the bad guy's house
Uh huh.
and she says something. I don't know why I've written this, but the dude just makes a D's nut references, and I just made a sad
Yeah,
face.
I've
I
written
was
that.
like,
I've written,
sad.
but I hated that. I wrote yikes at the D's nuts.
Yeah. Oh
That's what I
man,
wrote.
that was definitely questionable. Questionable.
I also really liked the music.
Yeah.
I've written it in that I really liked the music. In the credits, I was looking at all the films, and most of it is music from bands playing their own song. They also had a little bit of like original scoring
Oh yeah.
in there, and it was really funny because the credits had one guy playing the baritone sax, tenor sax, and bass clarinet,
Oh my God. What a level
one
those
guy
things.
playing the theremin,
Oh God.
and then about 25 people as gang
You're
vocals,
joking. I didn't even
and
look
then
at this.
finger snaps.
Oh.
Macon Blair, who directed it.
Yes, that is
That really made me
beautiful.
laugh.
That's good. I like the fact he was sat behind his camera, just kind of, clicking
Just like
away.
finger snapping away,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was loving it.
I really liked that.
Getting in depth, so this is spoiler zone now, right?
Yeah.
I thought it kind of for me because I maybe missed the comedy quite a lot. I there's another kind of TV series that was produced by Channel 4 called End of the Fucking World, and it had a very
I've heard of it, I haven't watched
I'm
it.
not going to spoil it. It has a very similar feel to that, which I kept thinking all the way through. So I was like, I'll make a note of it. I thought it was really good. Some of the references I've made in these notes are just completely unimportant scenes. But I thought Elijah Wood was really good. I thought I've written here Elijah Wood is the best goofy badass there's ever been. I thought he was so goofy. I thought he was quite adorable trying to be a badass.
Yeah, he was the best. He was far and away the best part of the film.
Yeah, without a doubt. He's such a good actor. There were bits of dialogue that I just kind of thought, what the hell's going on? Which is probably the comedy that I missed. But there's the bit in the forest where the dude's chasing her, Marshall's chasing her, and then she's
Yeah,
hiding behind the tree with the rocks in her hand. And they're like,
yeah,
and he just goes, "Have you ever eaten cat meat?" Just straight out of the
yeah.
blue. I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?
I
What?
loved the dialogue in this film. I was really, really into it.
Really?
It was so
Random and
kind of
sporadic."
surreal and
Hmm.
so. But the thing is, it's like what's the name of the film? It's like a really complicated time travel film, but it had a really low budget, and it was almost an indie one
Oh my God, I don't
about
know.
people who go into a machine and time travel. I can't remember the name,
Hot Tub Time
but
Machine, is that it?
no.
Oh.
But one of the kind of main features of that film, one of the things that people know most about it,
Mm.
is that the dialogue in it is almost too naturalistic for a film. Like it's just people talking over each other, and it's half sentences, and
Really?
like almost nothing's ever said because when you are talking in a group of like four or five
You
people,
don't, nothing gets
full
said, does it?
sentences very rarely get finished.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean, I watched that with my friends here. That film,
yeah.
I'm so annoyed I can't remember the name. Um, and we were pretty split over people loving the dialogue and people hating the dialogue. And I thought that this was similar. It wasn't the same. The dialogue wasn't naturalistic, but
It
it was
just felt so
different. And
random. I just,
yeah, but
uh,
I thought it felt random in a real way.
in a real way, what? So you think
I
if you
think,
were fucking chasing a dude in the forest and you were stood
but
having a
the thing is, these
conversation?
weren't. I think the difference is that these weren't real characters.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're
I
right.
think the characters were all caricature. They were zany. They were just so weird characters
I
that the
think,
dialogue
yeah.
wouldn't be normal. But I 100% believe that all the lines were what that character would say in that situation.
I think they were all caricatures. There was people like the bad guy's wife. I thought she was very
Yeah,
much a caricature. She was like
the coffee lady.
yeah, the what? The coffee lady?
That coffee chat where she makes them coffee out of the machine.
Oh yeah, 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 her. And
That
then
was my favorite bit in the
Elijah
film. That
Wood's
was my
just
favorite bit in the
happy
film.
enjoying his coffee. I love it.
Yeah, and then when they get taken out of the house by a security guy, and he's just like, "That was the cappuccino was amazing. I love the
Yeah,
foam." Like
yeah.
it was so funny. I just said that that bit was my favorite bit of the film. I'm lying. My favorite bit of the film, my favorite bit of the film was the like hacking montage. You know, they get the guy's number plate. They get the person that's robbed his number plate, and they're trying to find his address. And Elijah Wood does this whole thing. He's wearing like aviator sunglasses
Yeah.
all the way through the film, so he looks and he's in a tank top, and he looks like your kind of hacker character from films.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, I know how to get his address. Yeah, the web is the internet's just all these different places joined together. It's like a web."
Oh,
And she's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, they call it the web." And he's like, "You just have to dodge the spiders." And she looks at him really weird because it doesn't mean anything. And
Yeah.
then the hacking montage, it's got him like cracking his knuckles and typing away, and he types into Google like license
Yeah,
plate
yeah.
address.
I
And
thought
that's it. That's
it
like the hacking montage. Is it googling it? And it really made me laugh. I like lost it.
yeah, I
I
do
thought it was
remember that
so
bit
funny.
actually.
It was poking fun at all the Hollywood, all the like CSI, where it's like I need to hack, and they're on like four keyboards, and it's all going scrolling up the screen. They're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Obviously, the character thought of himself as that, but what he was doing on the computer was just normal. I
Yeah,
really, really liked it.
yeah. I think that was a kind of a main part of Elijah Wood's character. He did think he was this some sort of badass, throwing his little nunchucks
Yeah,
and his
I mean the thing
shurikens
is though,
around.
he did kind of slay with the
Yeah, he
nunchucks.
did, he did, he did.
When they went to that house, they did kind of get them all, and then he blew up, he threw the firecracker. He
Yeah,
was kind of badass, but just as a person was pathetic.
yeah. I think that's why I liked him. I could relate to him. Kind of, he's the sort of person that like he'd listen to rap music and then walk down the street with a load of like swagger, thinking he's the coolest dude around. I liked him a lot.
He had like so many of the best lines. Um, I've got I've got so many lines just written down. So the first line that I wrote down was "I fucking love it," which is what the main character Ruth says when like a 6-year-old kid draws a picture of a
Yeah,
stegosaurus
I
and
d-
gives it to her, and she's like, "I fucking love it," and that really made me laugh. And I feel like I'll probably quote that a lot from now on. Yeah, I thought that was really funny. I thought when they went to the where they got the laptop back,
yeah, that
and
was a
that
good
girl was
bit.
like, "I bought my communion bracelet from there," and she went, "Oh, it's really pretty." I thought
Yeah,
that made me really laugh.
and she's quite an awkward character as well, really, isn't she? I
Yeah,
did feel very sorry for her a lot of the time, like
yeah, she
especially
was
at the
super
start.
like out of it. You could tell that. I mean, it's interesting because I looked it up and it came out in 2016.
Really?
Kind of the, I think it was early 2016 that it came out. It's got 2017 written here, 24th of February 2017. So it came out just a couple of months after, the election in America.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's it's all about kind of people being assholes. That's what the film is about.
Yeah. Yeah,
She even says at one point that she gets confronted by the guy, she's the
yeah,
dad of the person
and
that's
she's
stolen
like,
her, and he's like, "What are you trying to get out of this?"
yeah.
And she says, "I want people to stop being assholes."
I think, yeah,
And
it's definitely relatable. Yeah,
yeah, that's the message of the film: is that people aren't ever going to stop being assholes.
yeah. Equally though, it's done in the most weird way possible
It's the
because
most bizarre way.
it's really cool though. I was just looking over my notes, Tom, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember the scene that is in the mansion where Tony comes and saves the day. You know, where everyone's
Yes.
like hands are getting shot off. I thought that was really cool. That whole sequence of events was amazing. I thought it was great. I loved everyone getting shot. I loved the gory bits. I thought it was really cool. but I think that's because I was looking at it in a more of a dark way. I was looking at the dark aspects of the film as opposed to the comedy.
That's really funny because that was my least favorite section.
Really? I thought I loved
Yeah,
it.
one of my notes is this is like an hour of kind of, I don't know, like almost boyhood. This is an hour of film festival
Yeah.
and 30 minutes of Django Unchained. It just felt so. It felt so different. Like all the way through the film, kind of the most gory thing to happen was when her finger gets broken, and I really hated that. And
Oh,
like
that
it
was
made me really
awful. That
cringe. Like
cringe.
it
Yeah.
was such a gross effect.
Yeah.
Um, and then all of a sudden, the guy's hand gets blown off.
Yeah.
Then she blows her own hand off. Then that guy gets shot in the
I
head.
thought it was really
There's just
cool.
so much blood that she's vomiting everywhere. It's like, where is this coming from? It was funny. It was well done. The special effects were good, but
Yeah.
it just seemed so out of place in the film.
Yeah. I suppose it wasn't the first time we'd seen anyone die though, because just before that.
The guy get hit by the bus, and I thought the guy getting hit by the bus was hilarious.
Yeah, that was great.
I've written down, oh fuck, he got bussed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the kind of gory aspects of it, which was really cool. I thought they took it a bit of a. It wasn't a step too far. I'm going to talk about the ending because it really
Yeah,
annoyed me quite a lot. I wrote here, Tony's death hit me hard, especially with the country music over the top, because when he was like in the boat and she was trying to get
in the
him
boat, and
to
he's like,
safety, as
he's
it
not
were.
responsive.
Yeah, I was like, man, the whole happy music over the top. That was possibly the saddest moment of
It
the
was real sad.
but I got used to it and I was like, yeah, Tony's dead. And then when he comes back as a force ghost,
It was
I was
so
like, the
funny.
hell? What's going on? And then
No, but
when
no, he doesn't come back as a
no, and
force
he's back
ghost.
alive. Yeah, I know he's not dead,
Yeah,
but that's what annoys me about the ending. It annoyed. Right, it really pisses me off when people just go straight back to convention. Oh fuck, goes back to the big word that I don't know how to say. With the they just bring everyone back alive so no one dies, and the two main characters can
but that
be
wasn't
happy
it. That's
together.
not what that was. That wasn't the message. That wasn't the point. The point was that she's gone through this whole thing, which has been so traumatic. The both of them have, and then everything's exactly the same afterwards.
Oh, maybe I think I missed a
That was
lot
the
of the
point.
movie.
That was what they meant. The whole thing happened, and then the end, the last bit, was her in the same flipping traffic jam behind that big fuck off
Yeah,
truck
I got
again,
that bit.
and she's talking to the same friend, and it's the same like husband of the friend who hates her. Like it was exactly the same, and I really liked it. It was like nothing
No.
changes.
I'm fed up of people getting them so close to death and then not staying dead. You know what I mean? In films,
But it wasn't.
no, I
That's not
know,
what
but it would
the
have
film wasn't
so
about.
much.
Anybody living or dying. It wasn't a film that needed the permanency of death. You know, it wasn't about. It's not like him dying was a sacrifice or anything like that. In the same way as in a
No, but I thought.
superhero movie, if that happens, it's cheap and it's played to make you go, oh. Whereas in
Yeah,
this,
that's true.
I didn't feel like it was the same way. I've written in all caps. I've written the barbecue angel thing
The
because it
barbecue
really
angel
was
thing.
so funny.
Oh,
It was like all the
no.
smoke and him stood there smiling so serenely, and then it kind of zooms out a bit, and he's barbecuing and he's having an argument with the guy about the best way to barbecue burgers.
That was
And
that
it's
was a
like
very
all
Tony
this has
thing to do.
happened. All those people died in front of them and like so gorily. And he's straight back to just like, no, 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 you got to squeeze him. No, you just need to flip him. No, you got to squeeze the burger. Like, I really, really liked it.
Oh man, I think yeah, I would have preferred it if he was dead. I really like Tony though, so I don't want him dead. But if he's good,
I really like Tony.
come that close to death, because I just don't understand how he would have possibly survived that. I don't know how either of
Well,
them did.
it doesn't matter, does it? Like, it's not.
I thought it was a really good film though. I'm glad you chose to watch it.
My favorite lines.
Yeah,
My favorite lines were the whole coffee chat where they're like, "Oh, did this come out of a machine? Well, this is really good.
yeah,
I used to work at a bookstore.
yeah,
No, but we made coffees too. I was really good with the milk wizard. It was like a 5 minute long
yeah.
conversation that just served no purpose and was absolutely hilarious.
I
Every
think
line of
my favorite bit about that whole thing was them thinking they got away with pretending to be police officers,
it. Yeah,
and then the dude comes
with the
in.
goddamn police badge
Did you
out of
got
the
a
cereal
cereal
box.
box?
It was
Yeah.
so funny.
Oh man, I thought it was great.
When she's ripping all the stuff out of their lawn, and Tony's just there going, "Oh no, not the giraffe!" And then she turns
Yeah,
away from the giraffe, and then when she steals the tiger, and then in the
yeah.
car, and he's just going, "That's not your lawn, tiger." That's not your lawn tiger. It was
Like
so
they have
funny.
their big argument around it, didn't they? That was another thing. It was very kind of typical in the way that it was like they hated each other at the start, but then they became friends through like weird circumstances.
It was, and I kind of
And then they got angry at each other and had a fallout, and then they came back together again.
yeah. And at the start, I was like, oh well, this is exactly what's going to
Yeah,
happen. They're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
be friends, then they're going to fall out, and then he's going to come back and save her.
yeah,
But I was like, I wonder why they'll fall out and why he'll come back.
yeah.
Because in a way, that's what films are, aren't they? It's always like there's a conflict, there's a friendship, there's a breakdown, then they fix it, and that's just like every film. You almost can't take points off for that. It'd be nice if it
No,
hadn't, or if something
I didn't
different had
take,
happened.
I
But if they
definitely
were
didn't
no,
take
I'm
points
just
off.
just in a general sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I
I
thought
thought that they did it quite well, and it almost felt like it was doing it satirically. I think I might be giving too much credit. I don't know
yeah.
Macon Blair. I don't know his other stuff. I don't know if it's similar. I probably will be watching some of his other stuff.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
suggest it. We can watch it on here because I'd quite like to watch some of the stuff.
Oh, that is his only directing film. That's the only film he's
Really?
directed.
What else did he do?
Yeah.
Is he like a producer?
He's written a couple of other films. He's written The Monkey's Paw in 2013. Don't know what that is.
Hmm.
And he's written Small Crimes last year. And then a couple of shorts, and he's got a film in post production coming out
Okay.
this year.
We should go
Hold the
watch. We
Dog.
should do a special. Go watch that. That
I'm a bit hesitant to watch stuff that's recent in a way on this. Do you know what I mean?
really? Oh
Yeah,
God.
like stuff that's in the cinema.
Oh,
We're
okay,
not,
right. Yeah, yeah.
this isn't a. We're not reviewing. Do you know what I mean? We're just
Yeah, we're just
talking about it.
chatting random bollocks. Yeah, I did think it was good though. I can't get over the fact Tony's still alive though. Yeah. How well did it actually do? Was it like a
It's got
successful?
7. It's got 7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Hmm.
It won. It won awards. It
Yeah,
won.
yeah.
I think it won Sundance. What did it win?
Yeah, I think you said it won Sundance.
It won the Sundance Film Festival. Um, it won Best Independent Film at some award. It won Melanie Linsky won Best Actress at another festival.
Really?
Yeah, a nominee for Best First Film, and it won something. It doesn't say what at the Austin Film Critics Association. It was like indie. It was pretty
Yeah,
indie.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely, definitely.
And I don't watch a lot of indie films, but I really did enjoy it.
I thought it was really good. I'd like to see more films like it. But I think if you like that, I'd highly recommend watching End of the Fucking World. I mean, I don't think you'll like it
Because
as
I heard
much.
kind of bad stuff about that.
No, I thought it was good. I think they've done a second season, which is where you may have heard the bad stuff from.
Fair enough. I'll give it a watch.
Me and my girlfriend watched it, and we sat and watched it all just like in the night. It was great. It was really good.
Uh-huh.
Should we move on to what we're doing for next week, Tom?
Yeah, so James chose the album and I chose the film
So
this
we're
week,
gonna
so we
switch it
switched
up.
next time. And I'm choosing the
Yeah,
album and James is choosing the film.
yeah,
And I kind of had two albums that I wanted to suggest, and they're both very different. One of them is my favourite album,
yeah.
and then the other one is just it's an album that I know you wouldn't listen to otherwise.
Yeah. Well,
And I'm going to go with that one,
oh,
and I'm going to do my favourite one next time.
yeah, that's a good. Okay.
What I want you to listen to
Yeah.
is I want you to listen to Professional Rapper
Oh
by
God.
Lil Dicky.
Oh God. Those are not. That's not. That's not a sentence I ever want to hear again.
It is rap,
Oh God. Oh,
but
I'm gonna have to try really hard with this one.
when you're listening to it, the thing with rap is it's not about the music, which is why I think you probably won't like it because you are more into the music.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll try to suspend my.
when you're listening to
passions.
it, read the lyrics at the same time.
Okay. I can do that.
I think, and with one of the songs, a song called "Pillow Talking,"
Yeah.
watch the YouTube video
Oh, I think
because it makes it way better.
I've seen this. I've seen that one before. That
It was on Reddit when it came out, when it was
Yeah,
released.
I think one of my flatmates showed it to me. I think they're
Yeah.
in bed, aren't they? And they're talking about stuff, and then he starts getting up
Yeah.
and doing shit. Yeah, I think I have seen it. I think I've definitely seen that.
It's funny. The thing is, it's funny rap.
Yeah.
But this is his first album, and he became known for funny rap. And then this is his first proper album, and he's got a couple on there that I like. I don't just want to be a funny rapper; I want to be a rapper.
Yeah.
And he's got some good features on there. I mean, I'm not super into rap; I don't listen to much
No.
rap. But he's got Snoop Dogg on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's good. He's very
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah.
Then a rap's not your thing, and the music isn't necessarily super fancy. But
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot. and I think that you'll probably find it better than you think you're going to find it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
So that's the album I want you to listen to. Is Professional Rapper by Lil Dicky.
that's really cool. I'll definitely listen. I was stuck. I really wanted to choose a TV show for us to watch, just a few episodes, but I really couldn't find anything. And then I remembered there was something that I wanted to watch on Netflix, but I think you've already seen it. And if you've already seen it, we'll watch something else. But it's James Acaster's repertoire.
I have watched all four. I'm happy for it to be the thing though, because I have a lot to say about James
Yeah, let's do
Acaster.
it. Because
I'm happy for that.
I
I'm happy to rewatch them.
like him quite a lot, James Acaster. I think he's a really good comedian.
What James Acaster have you watched? Have you watched his like
It's
live at the BBC or
yeah,
whatever it is on
yeah. He
Netflix?
does live at the Apollo, doesn't he? And he's done
Because Repertoire is
completely
almost the
different.
same
Is
material
it?
as live at the BBC. Yeah, it's from the same kind of project.
Yeah, but there's like
But there's more
four
to it.
hours worth of stuff on there, which we don't
Yeah,
have to watch all of it if you don't have time. But I'll definitely watch all of it.
it's really easy watching.
Yeah,
I'm happy to do all four.
yeah, good. Well, that's all
Awesome.
that's all that sorted. I think it's time for us to wrap up, Tom.
Thanks for listening to World on a String. You can find us on Twitter at WOASPod or on Facebook.
Yeah, Well Done String is hosted by me, James Curgenven, and Tom Joshi-Cale. You can find me on Twitter at James Curgenven.
And you can find me at Ace Torterra1, like the Pokemon. All the music on the show is original music by James Curgenven.